All right, I think we're live.
I
Um,
believe we are indeed.
Great. Well, lots of technical difficulties, but welcome to Popcast on the Rocks for Saturday, February 8th.
Episode
Um,
4.
Finally got going. We meant to start more than an hour ago, so if anyone was waiting, I'm sorry. How are you doing, Andrea?
I'm doing pretty good. Glad we got our technical difficulties sorted out. At least it was all on the back end and not really anything we had to deal with live, so that's good. I'm excited that we made it a month.
Yeah.
Our first,
Oh,
yeah, we're
really?
celebrating.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
I
suppose it
mean,
was
four
four.
weeks, a month.
Yep.
So, yeah, celebrating our 1 month anniversary, John.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
What are you
Well,
what are you
I'm
toasting our anniversary with?
I'm celebrating with this. You can see it there. Yeah, it's
Fancy.
it's good. Yep.
How is it?
It's good. Yeah. I mean, it's a little watery now. It was on probably had that situation before, but now it's just watery.
You gotta
It's all
find those
good.
whiskey stones, John.
I
This is
know.
2
Yeah.
episodes now, you've been using ice.
hmm
So
I'm okay with ice. It just there is a pace at which you should kind of drink it. And it feels like
Sure.
so. All right. Well, um, how's your week been?
Been pretty good. Kind of passed in a little bit of a blur, because I was doing prep for this show, so that meant watching a lot of Oscar movies, and, those were kinda taking up a lot of my nights.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
this crop of Oscar movies is, long, you
Yes.
know?
Yes.
So I feel like I've been spoiled by TV and the kind of shortness of episodes.
Mm.
Even the ones that are an hour don't feel quite like watching a
Yeah.
movie,
Yep.
or even when you stream like 3 or 4 at a time, doesn't quite feel like you've watched a movie.
Yeah, you
So,
get that respite. You get that, in the middle of it to the choice, stop or continue,
right. Right, yeah.
you know. I don't like breaking up movies, you know.
No, no, it's
You know.
tough. Yeah, once
It's
you sit down with it, you wanna get in that world and stay
yep.
there.
Did
Yeah.
you watch the Super Bowl?
Of course, my husband and I hosted a party, and it was a good Super Bowl finally. It
Yeah.
wasn't a total blowout, one team just crushing the other, which I don't know, just kills like a Super Bowl vibe. You just can't
Yeah.
watch the
Which
whole
happens a
thing.
lot,
It
really.
does, it does. Um,
So,
so yeah, so it was fun, and I wanted the Chiefs to win, and they did. So happy about that. Yeah,
yeah,
it
me
was a
too.
good time. Good
I think
time.
it was you know, um I think all around it was pretty good. The team I preferred to win did.
Yep.
It was a tight game, close game, even wasn't high scoring.
Right.
Um, I heard some people not like them as much, but I enjoy the commercials more than I had in some other recent years. And
Oh
I like
yeah.
the halftime show. So
Yeah, I love the halftime show. I know there's been a lot of internet speculation over, Shakira and J.Lo and like their outfits and like the sexual nature of the dances or whatever, but I don't know, I just didn't really get that. That wasn't what I was picking up on, you know?
I can see parents sitting in a room with their young kids being uncomfortable, but it's not. I don't know that that's a problem. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just it's not stuff that no one's seen. I
Yeah,
mean, watch any pop music video ever,
exactly.
and it's not more than that. So
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
just,
and I need to be honest, it just didn't really feel all that sexual to me. I mean, yeah, J.Lo was on a pole for like, you know, 2 minutes, which
mhm,
I just sat there and thought like, "Man, if I could do that at 50,
mhm.
dang, I'd be impressed with myself and my athleticism, not like sexuality." And B, I mean, it was just J.Lo on a pole. It wasn't like, you know, tons of men writhing around on top of, tons of women and you know what I mean? Like there was just nothing
I
there was just
think J Lo
nothing
on
that
a pole should be our
suggested
episode title.
it
J-Lo.
should.
Yeah.
So I
But
apparently have stronger feelings than I knew about this, but
well,
yeah, I don't know. I didn't find it all that uncomfortable. I just was more impressed with the athleticism of these 2 women.
mhm. I'd heard other people say, look, if you're watching this thing with your teenage boys or something like that, or otherwise little kids, they're not going to understand any of that stuff. They're going to see bright
No,
colors and loud noises, and
exactly.
so it's more of the it's this thing that I always still think is weird, and where culturally, I don't know if it expands a lot of other cultures or if it's more Western culture. I always think it's strange how it's so abhorrent to let your kids watch something that is sexual, stuff
Mhm.
that people do in real life and is okay.
Right.
That's bad. But watching gratuitous, awful, terrible violence, disemboweling, that's fine,
Yep.
even though that's illegal and crimes, and you shouldn't do that. It's just the
Right.
psychology of that is very interesting. Why why it is that way.
Right. It's interesting that, we hide sexuality and we sort of like make it a shameful thing when really, like you said, it should be something like murder or gratuitous violence that
Right.
should be shameful.
I think it's a. I mean, I suppose it'd be a thing like if you committed murder and then someone's talking about murder, you'd feel uncomfortable because you knew you did it.
Right.
So with sexual stuff, it'd be possibly the same. And it's like, so I get that, but our logical minds should work to overcome
Mhm.
that impulse.
Right.
So I don't know. So Super Bowl.
Yeah, we got off
Um,
on a little sidetrack there. That's okay.
yeah, I also this week I went to see Gretel and
Oh,
Hansel.
how'd you like that?
It looked really pretty.
Okay.
It
That's
was kind of eerie. It looked pretty. The witch in there, I thought, did a good job. Um, my wife really liked it. Ashley really liked it.
okay.
Um, but I don't know. I had a problem with the kid, little boy. He was kind of, I don't know if his acting was up to it. And then it was kind of slow, and
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't leave wowed, but it was
Sure.
very pretty. For it has some cool camera angles and shots and stuff.
Was the storyline kind of any different than the original or just
So I don't
did you
know much
stick to
about
it
it,
pretty
but
much?
as far as I can tell, it's pretty different.
Oh, okay.
But
What
I really don't know. Well, how it ended for sure.
okay.
Um, I had a issue with how it ended. I won't
Mhm.
say how it was, but yeah, it wasn't. I don't know. The decisions sometimes didn't, and Ashley kind of came up with some reasons why, maybe, but
Mhm.
I don't know.
It's hard when you have to talk yourself into it or, like, search for the reason for something, you
Yep.
know?
Yep. I
Yeah.
would say if you're interested, rent it.
Okay.
Don't. Yeah.
No need for the big screen.
Yeah. Wait for it to come to Netflix or something.
Okay.
So we know what's coming up tomorrow now.
Yes, yes, obviously. It's, the Oscars 2020.
That's right.
Should be a good
Um,
show.
yeah, you'd
There
mentioned how you watch it every year and it's a big, like, important thing to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Chris and I sit down to watch it every year. Kind of carrying on the tradition that we started when we were first dating.
Hmm.
So, it's fun, we, like, make a fancy dinner, drink some champagne. For our podcast, live stream tomorrow, I'll get dressed up. Um, we've actually You and I and our respective spouses have gone to an Oscar party together. I forgot about that. Do you remember that
Yep.
when we went to, like, that downtown Minneapolis hotel and
Yep.
got all fancy and watched the Oscars? That was a good
That was
time.
cool. Hmm.
Yeah, I
That was
would definitely
cool.
do something like that again.
Their version of goodie bags they give you and stuff, and
Yeah.
not quite as high end as I'm sure what they receive, but
Yeah.
nonetheless,
Yeah,
they're
no,
cool.
like, gold watches or,
Yeah.
Chanel number 5 in our swag bags, but still fun.
Yeah. Um,
But
Yeah, that's cool. So, what? Oh, I should mention that then that anyone that watches live now will be the only people that will get to see some of our predictions before they actually happen.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
anyone else
Yeah, I'm
listening
not
to this is going to be like, "Oh, these fools! They were all wrong."
Yeah, who knows? I don't know. I felt really confident while I was making my predictions. And now that I look back on them, I'm like, "Ooh, I don't know. I don't
Hmm,
know what I was thinking here," but it's tough. Like I feel like the Academy always has a couple of predictable predictions and then they throw you a couple curveballs. So,
sure.
I was trying to get in their mindset.
Well, how does this year's batch of movies compare to your favorites of the past? And what are your favorites of the
So,
past?
yes. So I have 2 on there. It's a really weird phenomenon. I feel like every year Oscar movies seem so important, and then the next year I'm like, "Wait, what was the best picture winner
That's because
again? What?"
mostly the time they're not important. My hot
Yes.
take. Oh my god, I don't know.
Yeah, they feel really forgettable in years after.
Yeah.
I when we were prepping for the show, I was trying to think of my favorite Oscar movies, and I was like, "Man, was that a contender?" Or,
Mhm.
like I just forgot. But um, so two of my personal favorites, for very personal reasons, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Okay.
The whole trilogy is really, I mean, if I can claim that as one of my favorite movies.
Mhm.
I try to sneak all of them in there because I just love that series. As evidenced by the fact that when I watch them, I quote along with every single line of dialogue in the
Therefore,
movie.
you watch them alone all the time.
Exactly, exactly. I've driven everybody away. It's terrible. But yeah, so I love Return of the King. Um, I mean, cinematography is gorgeous. How can it not be in New Zealand?
Yeah.
They have a beautiful setting and I love the story. I love the way it wraps up. Even though it's happy, it doesn't feel like a trite fairy tale kind of ending. It feels like this wonderful mix of like happiness and sadness, with like most characters getting like this happy resolution, but then like Frodo's too changed by his journey to really go home, so he moves on. So it's happy but sad. It feels a little realistic, you
Mhm.
know, which is how I even in apparently, fantasy realms kind of like my movies to be is I need a touch of realism.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Lord of the Rings is great. I just to me, Fellowship of the Ring deserved Best Picture. I don't know what it went up against that year, but Fellowship of the Ring, I think, is the best movie of the trilogy as a movie, as a
yes.
standalone. So Return of the
Yes.
King, I got so many nominations, and it was very good. But that was the one that I thought was maybe least deserving of Best Picture
Mhm.
out of the three.
Mhm.
So to me, it
Yeah.
shows like maybe bias or whatever, where they do these things that something deserves it outside of its individual merit. Like, oh, every year for the last 3 years, we've had this great movie during the holidays, and it's amazing, and we're gonna save the best picture for the last one. That's
Yeah.
what it felt like to me.
Yeah, it felt like the Academy was a little slow in recognizing that, like, these movies were deserving of awards too,
Hmm.
for sure. Um, and I agree that I think Fellowship was the most deserving of the films. Two Towers, I like the elements of it. I don't know because it's in the middle if it stands alone as a best picture, and that was, like, some reasoning why it
Okay,
wasn't chosen. I thought a lot of the technical elements were actually probably better than the other films.
sure.
It's certainly darker and grittier. It feels so Two Towers feels to me a little bit like Empire Strikes Back. If we're
Hmm.
I got to bring our Star Wars in here every episode. um but it feels like this wonderful second chapter, but yeah, I feel like the Academy was a little slow in recognizing the entire trilogy.
Yep.
So, my other favorite movie that I have on here is Slumdog Millionaire.
Okay.
Um, and that's actually because it was the first date that my husband and I ever went on.
Oh,
So it's a little
wow.
sentimental.
Man.
Yeah. And I do when I was thinking about it, I also really like the premise of it. Like it's a unique film, and I think I like it. Like when I was watching the Oscar nominees this year, I didn't feel a whole lot of originality
Hmm.
in the pictures
Okay.
and in the way that they were and then the way that the stories were told. So, in looking back, I loved the idea of Slumdog Millionaire in the idea that, like, telling this person's life story and how they relate to, like, each of these questions on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was a very unique premise and a
Sure.
unique way to tell someone's life story in a very, different lens that we wouldn't think about, how and using, like, the lens of a game show to show how somebody's life can be interconnected in very different ways and things can be meaningful in different ways that you don't know until, some big event happens.
Yep.
So,
I never watched it. I never watched it. It
oh,
was
okay.
so yeah,
I would recommend it.
I mean, I remember you guys talking about it a lot, and it certainly had a lot of buzz around it. So um
Yeah.
I like that director. Um,
Mhm.
you know, 28 Days Later
Love
was
that
his,
movie.
right? And
Mhm.
what's his name? Um, I can
Oh
see
my
his face.
gosh. Yeah. Oh man.
He did something else that I really
I
liked.
know. I know. God,
Wow.
that's going to make me bonkers.
I would look it up, but my clackety clack keyboard is sound really bad, so I won't. I need to get a quieter keyboard, or do like some shows do, and they like ask an assistant, like "Yo G,"
Right.
or, um,
Oh
um,
wait, our producer's typing. Danny Boyle. That's who it
Danny
is.
Boyle. Yep,
Thank
yep,
you. Thank you. God,
yep.
that bugs me.
Let's see. Okay, I Slumdog Millionaire. I my favorite's
You have
Gladiator. I look
yeah,
back through the
yeah, I was
list,
gonna say.
and I was
You have
surprised
another
you
one of my
didn't
personal
say that.
favorites.
Yeah,
I
okay.
know.
I just like I remember in college, you very much like Gladiator. I remember that.
And I still do. I still love it. I mean, truly. Um, I mean, everything from Russell Crowe's acting to the production design,
Mhm.
um, to this I mean, to just the story in general. It's one of those beautiful, like, historical movies that I don't feel things are out of place or that they've added too much to a historical moment.
Okay.
Which again, I will be talking about later in the show because I feel like there were several movies this year that did that in a not great way.
Okay. Yep.
So, wh- what did
Well,
uh what did you particularly like about Gladiator that made it your
it's
favorite?
just an emotional, amazing movie. Like
Yes.
it has some of everything.
Mhm.
It does epic right, it does things that are
Yes.
epic very well. Um, yeah, Russell Crowe is great. Um, I don't know
Joaquin
how to say
Phoenix.
his name, but Digimo Houston is
Mm,
always solid, and he's in there. Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, well, he's up again this year, and I just think he's one of the greatest actors alive. I think that every scene he's in Gladiator, he steals it.
mhm.
His tortured, awful self is so good.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I will probably never ever forget his scene smothering his own father.
I know it's really good.
Ugh.
Yep,
Ugh, and just like the emotion as he's doing it is horrifyingly beautiful.
yep, yep.
So,
So yeah, that's about it. Otherwise, looking back in the lists of Oscar movies, my predominant thought was, yeah, a lot of these, what ones of these have really become classics, you
Yeah.
know? And it hasn't been a lot, I don't think, it's been a while since we've had these timeless movies that
Mhm.
are remembered as, that are nominated or that win Best Picture anyways.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah, I was looking back and thinking, I'd seen obviously many of the recent years. Um,
mhm,
but as far as like going back into older movies, I mean, I'd seen The Godfather. I love
mhm,
that movie. I'd seen Gone with the Wind.
okay,
But other than that, I don't know that I've seen a whole lot else that won Best Picture. I've heard their names thrown around, when talking about Oscars past, but
mhm.
haven't actually seen the movies.
So, what do you think, when you're watching these movies, you know, so with video games, I remember growing up and magazines like EGM and whatever, um they would have a game and then they would break it down in categories. So it'd be visual, visuals or graphics, sound, gameplay, I don't know what else. So they would each get a rating.
Mhm.
And most of them gone away from that now because I mean, it's so hard to put a specific number on something like that. And
Sure.
whereas movies don't do that, they do still break out all these categories. And that's fine. But when you're watching something, what matters to you? Because I came into this, is it the sum of its parts? Or is it, like, well, this film had such great cinematography and the sound mixing was so good, you
Mhm.
know, but overall that didn't create a enjoyable masterpiece, an enjoyable experience. When you're thinking best picture, is it
Mhm.
purely entertainment value or are you factoring in all the other categories and other elements?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to equivocate, but a bit of both. I
Okay.
think you can have the most interesting story, and if the elements don't come together to tell it, you're gonna be distracted by those, you know?
Hmm.
If you feel like, "Oh, what is the camera doing here?" Or, "Why is, this set here? Why is this song playing right now?" Or, I mean, you do have to pay attention to details when making a
Hmm.
film. I think, you can maybe have one thing that's just kind of a little off, but if you have two or more of any, component, your audience is going to be distracted and then you've lost the essence of what you're trying to do. You've lost
Sure.
the essence of telling a story.
Hmm.
So for me, really, parts need to, you know, be complete on their own, but they need to all come together and work together to tell a story.
Sure.
Like, I don't need competing sound with an actor's performance, or I don't need
Right.
a costume choice that I think is just wildly off, distracting me from a scene.
Right.
So,
Okay. Well, what'd
so
you
yeah,
end up?
I need it all come together.
Yeah. Right. Yep. What'd you all end up watching this week then? I watched most of my stuff this week. I was trying to cram it in. How about you?
Yeah, I saw your list of everything you've watched. Like, kudos. You got a lot in there. You did better than I did. So I watched Marriage Story, Noah Baumbach's interpretation of, obviously, a marriage crumbling,
Okay.
from its first, mentions of divorce to the final actual culmination of that process. And then I watched Marty Scorsese's The Irishman, which I have some strong feelings about that I can get
Okay.
to in a minute.
Okay.
You already know. I couldn't wait for the show. I had to tell you immediately. Um, I've watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino's 60s
Hmm.
flick, Greta Gerwig's Little Women, and I'm about midway through Ford versus Ferrari and Uncut Gems.
Okay. Oh, I should bring up
So
Uncut Gems because where are you watching that? Do you have a VPN on your Netflix or something? Because that's not
is
available in
it
the US on Netflix.
oh, so it's only available in, like, UK or EU?
Hmm. Yeah, because I went and searched that the other day.
Ah,
I'm like, this is not on here. And I looked it up, distribution rights and stuff, and it might come to Netflix here or whatever or something like that. But I had no
gotcha,
way to
okay.
watch it unless I connected my Netflix through a VPN and chose, some other country.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, that's actually the way I've been watching it.
Okay. So, viewers,
So,
if you're like, where's Uncut Gems? It's,
yeah,
it,
sorry about that, guys.
yeah. I almost watched that last night, and then I was like, well, I wasn't gonna bother casting it from my phone or something like that. I don't have VPN
Sure,
hooked up with my Apple TV,
sure.
so okay. Well, what stands out to you? I mean, you said you have strong feelings about Irishman.
I do, I really do. It's nominated for a lot this year. Um, Performances from Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, adapted screenplay, cinematography, visual effects, costume design, production design, film editing, and then best director and best picture. So,
But if
what is
we're
that,
gonna
like
go by
10 of them?
Spielberg's now redacted comments, that shouldn't
Ooh,
be up for any awards. This streaming
Irishman?
network show, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
streaming
That's
show.
that's certainly a question for the future. You know, Netflix obviously broke into the best picture category or the best picture
Yeah.
category with Irishman, and
Yep.
then oh, also Marriage Story. I didn't
Yep.
know that was up for best picture too. So yeah, so I mean they've got two selections out of what like the 8 or 9 that are up
Yeah.
there.
That's pretty good.
Um yeah, good for Netflix. I mean,
Mhm.
but on the other hand, good for Netflix, but I don't feel that The Irishman should be up for best picture,
Okay. All right.
truthfully. For one, it is insanely long and does not need to be. It is
Okay.
3.5 hours. And really, when I watched it, the last 30 to 40 minutes for me were the most interesting part of the film. Um, so to give a spoiler-free summation, the film follows Robert De Niro's character, Frank Sheeran, who is a hitman for a mob family, the Buffalino family. And it kind of like follows his career trajectory from like being introduced to the family, like, how he gets his job, how he makes his first hit, the kind of political takeover that the family attempts in the 60s with the Kennedys. Um, and then also ties in how Frank meets Jimmy Hoffa.
Okay.
And so it kind of inserts itself into like the mythos of Jimmy Hoffa, and how he
Are you saying
disappears.
Hopper, but with a Boston accent? Hoppa?
Hoffa,
Or was it
Hoffa.
Hoffa? Hoffa.
No, Jimmy Hoffa. F. Um, so yeah, so it goes through that, and then it sort of the last 30 to 40 minutes is the end of Frank's life. And like all of the other, like any of the um mob family who survived, they're all in prison. Um and kind of how they're dealing with their lives as old men, and how
Mm,
you like approach the end of your life when you've lived your life this way. So that part to me was actually the most interesting, was like seeing them as older men kind of just dealing with normal problems, like getting to the bank or taking your pills, or
sure.
like just very interesting things like that. That was fascinating in terms of character to me, you know sort of like humanizing this very
Right.
like unreal profession. I mean, obviously most of us are not going to like know a mob hitman or know what that life is like, but everybody can sort of think about older people that they know in their lives and how they deal with
Yep.
like everyday things like that. So that part was fascinating to me. The film leading up there was way too long, dragged on way too much, and felt a little bit to me like if you took Forrest Gump and made him a hitman and dropped him into history.
Okay.
Like, it felt really disrespectful.
Huh.
It didn't work, Frank Sheeran's character into, meeting the Kennedys and meeting Jimmy Hoffa in a realistic way.
Hmm.
So I was very disappointed about that. That was my very first split second reaction when I saw it was like, okay, this is like a mob version of Forrest Gump.
That's funny.
And I was
I
I
haven't
was
heard
less than impressed.
that.
Um,
Do you think
so
Martin
yes,
Scorsese is he just overrated, or are they just trying to like make up for? Because they said
sure.
before he's been snubbed however many times and they finally won for
Absolutely.
whatever. And I mean, do you think they're trying to make
Yeah,
up for that? Well, again, back to the whole thing, like there's a bigger picture outside of
right.
the individual movie that's guiding their judgment here on films.
Yes. Yes. I do think that that is the case, and I think if that's the case here, it's misguided.
Okay.
The Departed already won for Best Picture,
Right.
and that is a far better film than this one.
And
Um,
still not amazing, honestly. I don't know.
I know it's really good. It's not the best movie I've ever seen, but it's certainly better than The Irishman. And this just feels I don't know, this just feels a little tired. Like I want Scorsese to do something else. I need him to
Mhm.
fall out of love with the mob and tell another story.
Yeah, right. I agree. I mean, he did the one, wasn't it the prison island one? Um,
Prison
it
Island
was a little
one.
creepier vibe.
Oh, you mean Shutter Island
Yeah, was that him?
with Leo?
Yeah,
I don't know if that was him. I kind
Shutter
of
Island.
hope
I
it was
think that
because
was
I
him.
love that movie.
I think it was him, and that movie I didn't see, but it seemed different.
Yes. Oh, I've seen it. Leo DiCaprio and Mark Ruffalo star, and it's fantastic. It's like you said, it's creepy. It's a unique way to tell a story. Oh, it is. It
Oh,
is
it is. Yeah,
Scorsese. Yes. Yeah, that I feel is a far better movie than either The Departed or the especially The Irishman.
sure. Yeah,
Because again, it's like this unique way to tell a story. Um, you know, I don't want to get in a
yeah,
spoiler,
right,
but if you have to pick a Marty Scorsese movie to watch, that'd be it, I think. Out of the 3 we've discussed.
right. Yep.
I don't wanna say all time.
I want to run down the list of just what I've seen so everybody knows.
Sure, yeah.
Parasite, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Jojo
Mhm.
Rabbit, Joker, Rocketman, Ford versus Ferrari, and Lighthouse. And then I didn't put in like Avengers. That's for
Right,
visual effects
yeah.
or something like that, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
so I squeezed in a bunch.
do you wanna quick take a spin through, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood since we've both seen it?
Yeah. So I'm a fan of Tarantino. I
Same.
would say, I mean, it's been a little while since I've watched I've missed a few of his movies, but
Mhm.
I still enjoy him. Kill Bill, Pulp Fiction, it's great. So, do you think this
Yeah.
lived up to Tarantino standards?
I, well, I think it's a very Tarantino movie.
Mhm. Yep.
It's fast-paced, soundtrack is kicky and fun.
Yep.
Um, it's very much a character study of
Mhm.
certain characters,
Yep. Leo's
he
character for
likes to
sure.
yes, yeah. Yeah, he likes to sort of pick like a couple characters, main and side and just sort of do these like interesting, quirky character studies that I find fascinating. And he picked great actors.
Yep. He
I
works with his
loved
friends.
yeah, yeah. I loved Leo and I loved Brad Pitt's performances. Um also
Yep.
I love Brad Pitt's dog Brandy.
Oh
Like that
yeah.
is the most well-trained excellent dog in the entire world. Um to not give anything away about the ending, but
Yep.
the dog really shines in the end.
Yep.
Um
It's I mean, yeah, the
the ending
sound
was
is
also
great.
very Tarantino.
The end, yeah, you're right. And the ending was definitely the
Bloody.
best part. It was good.
Mhm.
I did
Okay,
really
but do you
like
mean do you mean
okay.
like the bloody ending or do you mean like the actual resolution? final shots?
Both. I thought it finished strong.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You didn't like the end, the resolution?
No. So,
Oh,
okay, I will spoiler alert this because I can't talk about it
okay.
without
Spoiler
spoiling.
alert. Spoiler
Yep.
alert. Come back in 15 seconds.
Exactly. So the ending obviously is different in the fact that, these hippies who are following Charles Manson's direction end up trying to kill Leo and Brad Pitt's characters rather than killing Margot Robbie's character, Sharon Tate.
Mhm.
And so she ends the movie just fine. She's never
Mhm.
murdered. Um didn't really see the point in that. I didn't really see the point of having her character in the movie actually almost at all.
Okay. Okay.
It
So
just
yeah, I I will agree with that. Because the one of the most interesting things, or when I was watching this, I thought, hey, it would be really cool to see Tarantino tackle the Manson family. That would be
yes.
cool. But it's such a side thing.
Yes.
And right, Sharon Tate is a side thing. It never really she's obviously like they're playing a thing where she's just involved and it's kind of
Mhm.
like a Inglorious Bastards rewrite of history,
Mhm.
um, that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know about
Yeah,
that.
it sidesteps the whole issue, and I had a hard time because when it was first coming out or they were first kind of shooting everything, they had done all these interviews with like Sharon Tate's family and how, they were wary of Quentin Tarantino using her in the
Mm,
movie, and then, they finally gave their blessing and they said like, "Oh, we love the way he's doing this." And so I was like, "Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready
right.
for that." And I thought it was going to be a bigger deal than it was, and then like you said, he just sort of sidestepped the whole thing.
Yep. Yep.
So, I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah, I had a hard
I
time with that.
I guess it's just a kind of positive rewrite of history, you know.
It is.
Like
It is.
it's a what if, and uh, I I guess I was okay with that. But I think they could have trimmed a lot of fat in the movie then. They could have
Yes.
focused more because they either go with Sharon Tate, Manson family, and that's potentially a very interesting movie, or they deal with Leo and his
Mhm.
struggles as an actor and as like finding self-worth
Yes.
and seeing himself the way the world sees him,
Right.
versus how he sees himself. And
Right.
although really liked Brad Pitt's character, he was also it was these tangential stories that I
Yes.
don't know were needed to fit together.
Yeah, yeah, it felt like different movies that were being attempted to be stitched together without quite success.
Hmm. Yep.
Which is, going back to what we were talking about earlier, you need all elements of a movie to work together
Yep.
to like tell you the story that it wants to tell without you being distracted. And I just didn't think Tarantino succeeded here.
Right.
Um I also there were technical elements to the movie that I had a hard time with, like the
Oh.
narrator, Kurt Russell.
Oh. Okay.
I just felt
Okay.
I just felt I like him as a narrator. I just
Hmm.
felt the use of the narrator was uneven.
Hmm.
So it distracted me because
Yeah.
they did it sort of early on. There was like a huge jump in the middle where, he wasn't in there, and then it was a ton setting up the ending.
Yep.
And I felt like if you need the narrator that much, then you're
You
not
need a
doing
new
your job as a
storyboard.
filmmaker. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
I
just you're
mean,
not you know,
yeah.
if he'd been sprinkled a little bit more in the middle, I think I wouldn't have been as distracted by it coming back at the end. But then when he did, I was like, oh, right. Like we've had a narrator sometimes. So,
That came up with Gretel and Hansel too.
oh, okay.
There's some narration, and I don't know if it's a trend or what, but or if it's people getting lazy. I mean, there's definitely things that that's baked in, and it really is designed that way. And there's other things where I don't know, could this just that's what we learn in college is can this be told visually? You know,
Mhm.
I brought up to someone the other day when we were watching Vinland Saga, and for the
Oh, yeah.
start of it, we didn't have subtitles on. It was in Japanese, and it took a while before someone noticed
Yeah.
because it just made sense what they were showing us. We didn't
Mhm.
necessarily need the words to that point. So
Exactly.
yeah, I agree. Narration could have been cut out. Tell us the story visually.
Right. Or like I said, if that's what you're gonna do for some things, that's fine. I needed a little bit more, um, like, kind of regular use and a little bit less heavy at
Hmm.
the end.
Well, and it was weird because it wasn't uh, a non corporeal like narration. We had a character.
Right.
Kurt Russell's playing a character in the movie. Did it make
Mhm.
sense for him to be the narrator, the omnipresent thing? Um, or maybe you're not supposed to notice that he has a character in there too. I don't know.
Right. Right. Yeah, it almost felt a little like giving Kurt Russell more to do.
Yeah. Hmm.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So I wasn't, quite convinced by that,
I
but
have to say, I could have when Leo has a great scene in there where there's some really good scenes in there. I've kind of like with Leo whatever, but I really like some of his moments in there. And there was a
Mhm.
time I was like, there needs to be a film where he is Kurt Russell's son because with the way they had him done up and some of the way he
Yes.
was doing his accent, it's like that is definitely a younger Kurt Russell right there.
Yes. Yes.
So
Are you talking about, like, the scene within a scene? Like, the scene for the TV show or the movie that
um
he's
where I noticed it was in the trailer. He was having a kind of this breakdown, like amping himself.
Oh, yes.
I
I
love
love
that
that
scene.
scene.
And then yes, the scene within a scene, but that was kind of
Yes.
the whole big chunk. That was probably the best part of the
Yes.
film, other than other than the ending, I think, because
Agreed.
yeah, seeing that camera go with honestly, when you start with the little girl was really good too.
Yes. She
And
was
so that
excellent.
talking to him on set, the filming of that, him going off set and coming back on, that was a great
Yes.
sequence.
Yes. That I agree, that was my favorite sequence as well. Absolutely. It felt this so the scene within a scene felt a little bit like that same intensity that Leo had in, Django Unchained,
Oh, okay.
which I
Okay.
know you haven't seen,
Yep, but you've
but
been
a lot of
recommending it, yeah.
people a lot of people talk about the scene where, he's, playing this slave owner who's talking about how he owns Kerry Washington's character, and he's using a skull to prove his point, and he slams it down and cuts his hand open, and he just, like, goes with the scene, and he rubs the blood all over her face, and it felt like that same exact intensity. Like,
Sure.
I was instantly reminded of that scene, and it didn't, make me think like, "Oh, Leo's playing the same character." It just made me think like, "Man, he sells this kind of intensity so well."
Mhm. Yep.
He can get in it and you see him get lost and he just convinces you. So I love those sort of moments of his acting.
Yep. I guess I haven't
'Cause
seen enough Leo movies because this was the first time I was pretty impressed. I should watch
Sure.
Shang-Chi Chain. I should watch
You should.
The Revenant.
Yeah.
I wanna watch that one. So,
That's another long one, just a cautionary
sure. Yeah.
cautionary moment, yeah. Um, but I mean, for me, like I've, done some acting here and there, and I know how hard it is to um get that sort of intensity without feeling a little either outside yourself or trying to make it genuine enough that you don't sort of feel ridiculous that you're too intense.
Mhm. Yep.
So I know how tricky that balance is.
Yep.
So,
Cool. Um,
well, um do you want to get to some picks, some predictions?
yeah, I have a couple I wanna let's see. Man, there's so much we haven't talked about.
I know,
Um
it's tough.
Uh, I'll just touch on a few of the other ones I saw. Um,
Sure, yeah.
Parasite. Parasite was
Yep.
very good. A
That's on my
really good
list too,
movie.
see.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. It's well done. It's tense. I'd say if there's an ensemble cast award, that'd be a good
Mm,
one. They
okay.
all work very well. It was. I don't want to give anything away, but um, it just felt real. Like I'm not a Korea expert, but it felt very, very real. And I appreciated that where it's not, you know, with for Ashley's family's from France,
Mhm.
and when they went over to visit a long time, they thought everyone here lived like Hollywood. They would watch movies,
Oh,
and figure
sure.
everyone in America lived Hollywood. And so you get that because you have these inaccurate depictions all the time in things, which is fine because
Mhm.
as a viewer that knows it's inaccurate, you can see this is a slice of reality, not
Right.
most of it.
Right.
And I thought that Parasite did a really convincing job of showing Korea some of the struggles, and they did this good back and forth between like the very well off and the very not well off in the
Mhm.
movie, and
Yeah.
it just I I was impressed. I was impressed with Parasite.
Okay.
Jojo Rabbit watched last night. So these two are my two for my favorite.
Oh,
Jojo Rabbit
okay.
was really good. I was
Interesting.
weary going in. Um,
Yeah, the
you
premise
know,
sounds a little ridiculous, so
yeah, but it's done so well. It's a timeless film. It's a film
okay.
that I think
Wow.
anyone can watch. Could have watched 50 years ago
Okay.
if they could get over, like, if it's too soon kind of thing. I mean, or something. I
Sure.
don't know when that point is. Oh, and they can watch it 50 years from now. And
Okay.
it just is, it's human. It has a bit of everything. It's
Uh-huh.
emotional, it's funny, it's very Taika Waititi. He didn't let me down. And I was and
Okay.
well, I'll get that in our guesses later.
Okay.
Lighthouse, creepy, great, fun,
Mhm.
weird. I'd recommend it, but it's a slower
Yes.
film. And Ford versus Ferrari. Um, Christian
Yeah, I'm
Bale is
having a
so
good
good.
time. Oh,
Christian
yeah.
Bale is so good. Very good.
I yeah, he's a fantastic actor. I do think Matt Damon is solid as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
Um, he's not he's not as, like, excellent, but he's a solid character. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
Matt Damon is always solid. I'm never just disappointed by his
Yep.
performance.
There's some actors to me that's like Anthony Hopkins, and Christian Bale's become one of those that just tells so much in their eyes and face. It just, I
Yes.
bought it. Bought it.
Yes. I agree.
So I won't go on, I guess. It'll get to you a bit much, but yeah, you're talking predictions. Who do you
Yeah.
think?
All right. So, even though I haven't seen this, I'm feeling pretty confident in my acting picks.
Okay.
Um, Best actor, Joaquin Phoenix.
It's gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel it's one of those that you just already know,
hmm
you know? I
he
mean,
I did see
yeah.
it, and I mean, if he gets it, it's deserved.
Mhm.
He does a very good job. It's a very real look at, to me, what feels like a real look at mental illness. I think he does that respectfully, and the film does that respectfully, and he brings it home, even though it feels not very Jokerish. He
Mhm.
does a good job.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it and sort of see his performance and see if I feel like it's a Joker movie or if it's sort of like you just added that element in. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah. Um, I I put this in notes because I guess because I've heard plenty of people say it's not Joker. Um,
Mm.
the way I look at it is like Casino Royale, where In
Mm,
Casino Royale, Daniel Craig's Bond was not Bond, really, as
right,
we have come to know him. He was
right.
new double, gonna be a double O. And
Mhm,
the way that picture set it up to me was at the end, his heart was frozen over, and now he'll be like the womanizing, cocky guy we know. That's because in Casino he's messing up.
mhm.
He drives this like Ford Fiesta thing or something for a while. It's just like a number of things. He's a little more rash.
Sure.
And so I feel like at the end, he's himself. Now, they delayed it another film. He was also not himself. He was reeling in the next one.
Right.
But, you know, but I felt that this way was the way Joker was. By the end, you could see where he's going. And
Okay.
so this is really his origin. And he's not Joker. He's not the Joker we know and are familiar with. But this could feasibly be his start.
Okay. All
So,
right. All right. I buy into that. So my other picks, best actress, I think, is going to go to Renee Zellweger for Judy. Another one
okay.
I haven't seen, but I feel like it's another one of those sort of predestined picks,
Okay.
and it's the only nomination that picture got, and everybody was just raving
Mm,
about her and her as Judy Garland. So I just feel like that's where
okay.
that's going to go, and the Academy is going to make up for other movies in other ways. You know what I
Okay.
mean? They're going to give awards to the other
Yep.
movies that are there.
Yep.
Laura Dern in Marriage Story is my supporting actress pick. She
Okay.
and I completely agree with this. She absolutely crushed her role.
Okay.
There's not a lot of e- um like sentiment in it, and I think that's why because sentiment can so often seem fake or forced, or like there's these big tragic scenes that actors have to respond to, and and people are like, oh, their performance was so amazing, but you're really like, well, this whole scene was like set up for them to deliver something like that.
Mhm.
Her performance is just like gritty, real, absolute like embodiment of a character from head to toe. I did not even feel like I was looking at Laura Dern.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I think she's going to win for that, or at least I that's my prediction. And then I think Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood
Okay.
is going to get it.
Yeah. So, do you want those people all to win as well, or you just think that that's what will happen?
I think that's the thing that will happen. You know, not having seen all of the movies, I can't probably
Mhm.
give a true prediction of what I would want. Um, but based on some of the things I've seen, I actually wish that Saoirse Ronan would win for Best Actress for Little Women.
Okay.
I thought her performance was absolutely magnificent. And I feel a lot of that movie is going to get snubbed. I think that that movie is going to win for like best adapted screenplay because they
Okay.
didn't nominate Greta Gerwig for best director, which I absolutely feel she should have gotten, no question. Um,
So, you were a big fan of Little Women.
I was. I've certainly seen other adaptations, and technically it's nothing new in the sense of like this movie's been made before, but the way the story was told was very innovative.
Okay.
um, like using kind of flash forward, flash back. There were a few new scenes that were added that didn't feel disrespectful to the original, and were driving beautiful character development.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I absolutely feel that that was a snub by the Academy, and I think they're going to give her Best Adapted Screenplay as sort of like a consolation
Okay.
for, or as an apology.
I hate that. I really hate
I
that.
do. I
You
do.
know, I
Yeah.
they needed and it's
It,
sad because we're not the only one that people that think that, and
mhm.
I just don't. Yeah,
And
no.
I also think, and I don't want to belittle this when I say it. I think that Bong Joon Ho or Bong Joon Ho um,
Hmm.
is going to win for Parasite for Best Director,
Okay.
but I also think it's going to be partly because the Academy is not going to feel comfortable having a foreign film win Best Picture.
Oh. Hmm.
And so they're gonna recognize that Parasite is an amazing movie. I don't
Hmm.
think they're gonna give it Best Picture, probably partly for that reason. I might be ascribing motives, but it's just my feeling.
Hmm.
And I think that he's going to win for Best Director.
Okay. I can see a best director coming there, and I for me, I don't think it would be because necessarily because of that.
No, and I
I
don't mean to say it's the main reason. I just think there might be like some sort of side feeling in there.
Yeah, I think your guess and my guess too for best picture. I think
Mhm.
I haven't seen it. It just everybody's raving about it.
Yep,
1917.
I've started it, but not enough to credibly talk
Hmm.
about it.
So I think that it can't kind of came out of nowhere. I don't know. It came
Mhm.
late, and I certainly hadn't heard about it. Maybe I'm in the wrong circles. What Sam Mendes is working on and stuff. But
Sure.
yeah, I've heard
Yeah,
nothing but great things.
same. And I think it's gonna win for Best Picture and cinematography,
Hmm. Yep.
truly.
A normal year, I think they would have given Lighthouse cinematography,
Yeah,
and I would be perfectly happy if that won. I can speak to that one because I saw it, but
yeah,
yeah, I think out of nowhere, then this came along.
yep, absolutely.
So you got a couple other predictions?
Oh,
Um,
just for
oh yeah,
screenplay.
screenplay. Yeah.
Yep, I think Little Women's gonna win, and I think original is actually gonna be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
I get through in my a token for score. I feel like
Oh,
again
yeah.
it'd be one of those things where this is probably the last Star Wars movie that John Williams is going to
Yep.
score. So I can see him giving Rise of Skywalker best score.
I would agree with that for sure. I think if it wasn't maybe his last one, they might they might go a different direction like 1917,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
I see Rise of Skywalker coming in to take it for
Yep.
sure.
So favorite movie you've seen this year for I would say of anything if you can think of it.
Ooh.
And how do you
Oh
think the
man.
Oscars stacked up this year?
Um so I'll address the second part first. I was a little disappointed, I think, in the crop this year. Not that they weren't good movies, but in just kind of a very general sense. There was nothing that truly blew me away. And there was a lot of looking at the past,
Hmm.
a lot of nostalgia feeling like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood looks at the 60s, The Irishman also looks at the 60s.
Hmm.
1917 obviously is you
Yep.
know, set in the past. Little Women is set in the past. You know, there just wasn't a lot to say about the present or unique stories to maybe tell about the future. And I was a little disappointed
Okay.
in that overall feeling of so much looking at the past. And it's
Sure.
like, can we not come up with anything new? Can we not innovate? Can we not look ahead?
Well, it is Hollywood we're talking about. No,
I
they can't come
know.
up with something new where it's in television and everything.
I
I mean,
know.
this
I
is
know.
a it's the old guard, and it's still largely a system that's just, it's part of the problem with the Oscars. It is steeped in this history, the storied
Mhm.
history, this past. Hollywood still means a lot to these people, and it's their time has kind of come to an end. It is now
Yes.
the streaming services, and there's more unique content out there being made. And I think it's pretty good that Netflix is getting some recognition, probably, but there's a lot of content out there, and
Yeah.
it's I don't know. They're gonna have to wake up to this kind of, expand their horizons,
Yes.
not be looking at, maybe give some other people a fresh look, and because they haven't made a giant name for themselves right away.
Mhm.
maybe there's someone they're missing or a film they're missing that I saw Mandy this year, which was insane. It was insane. It's by a pretty new director, and it's got Nick Cage
Okay.
in it, and going all out Nick Cage. It's a trip.
Okay.
It is. It's great. It's a great movie, and I mean,
Okay.
no one. If you talk about something original, that's an original film, and the guy
Right.
behind it was super passionate about it. Um, I don't know. There's stuff out there. They could be, forget about Martin Scorsese for a moment.
Seriously. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with looking to the past in its entirety, but I want somebody to do something innovative with it, like Jojo Rabbit.
Yes, yes, that was a
So,
unique movie. It was a unique movie, and
yes.
to me, Parasite. So I'm kind of I was I was pretty happy this year, or his other years have been pretty bummed, because I often ignore a lot of that the Oscars are nominated there. But I Parasite and Jojo Rabbit were so good. Rocket Man, I know, was just up for best song, but they
Right.
could have that could have been a possible best actor nom too. There, that was surprising to
Mhm.
me to not have
Yeah,
Taron nominated.
right.
And Ford versus Ferrari kept me on the edge of my seat singular. So I was actually pretty happy.
Yeah, I don't mean to say that I was not happy with anything,
Hmm.
but I'm just and not that movies weren't well done, but I want some new
Yeah,
subject matter. I want
there
some new
was a theme of
content.
the cast for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean
So,
everything pretty much.
mhm.
Hmm. Well, we're going long.
Yep.
We're running long.
Lots to say
Uh,
as always.
yeah. So thanks. Is there anything else you want to add for this week yet?
No, I just think I'm excited for the Oscars to see, what our predictions
They
come to
pan out.
fruition or don't,
Yeah.
or and I'm excited for our first live stream fashion critique of the Oscars tomorrow. That'll be fun. A special bonus for people who want to tune in.
Yep. Yep. We'll
Yeah.
try to. So yeah. So we're gonna in podcast form probably try to split this in two, for people. Get that going. Get that up Monday. The um, our live thing tomorrow. What do we say? We're try for 6 o'clock, I think,
Yep.
or
We'll do 6.
5:30.
We'll
Um,
try to do at least 6 to 7 to cover
yeah.
the final Oscar countdown hour.
Yep. So barring any technical difficulty, we'll make fun of people's fashion choices and
Yes.
applaud the good ones.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
yeah, so look forward to that, everyone. Thanks again
Yes.
for joining me, Andrea. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good. Bye everyone.